What is the nature of the soul? There is no soul, ladies and gentlemen. There is no nature of the soul because a soul doesn't exist. A soul is something that people in the other religions have formulated, have created, because they didn't have any internal experience into the nature of reality within. So, it's obvious that I'm alive right now, I'm walking, so you can deduce by thinking, okay, well, this person is alive, and then when this person passes away, something changes. Their life is no longer in their body. So maybe there's a kind of like a soul thing that sits in the body. When the person dies, the soul leaves. This is not the case, okay? The Buddha was very adamant on explaining to his monks and to virtually everyone around him this idea of a no soul or no self. This is one of the pinnacles or one of the principal teachings of the Buddha's teachings, is this idea of not self or no soul. Because in India at that time, there was a very huge movement of people thinking that there's something as a self entity inside, and then when it dies, it goes and it does various other things. The Buddha was the first one to explain, no, this is not the case. There is no soul. So the three pillars of the Buddha's teachings are impermanence, the noble truth of suffering, and not self. There is no self. There is no permanent ego entity inside of this. So if you just understand the basic and natural principle of impermanence, everything is impermanent in this universe. This includes your energy, your mind, your emotion, and your body. Everything. There is nothing that is permanent in this physical existence. So logically, there is nothing permanent inside of this being or inside of this body. It can't exist. It doesn't work like that. So in this way, there is no soul. So it's a completely false belief. It's a belief to think that there is a soul inside your body, and then when you pass away, your soul goes to heaven, and then for all of eternity, it's going to spend time in heaven. That's not the reality of nature. Just go pay attention. Go learn to meditate. You'll see that the reality within yourself is impermanence. Everything is impermanent. There's nothing stable here. There is no stability. There is no permanence. Everything is constantly changing. It's all constantly being born and passing away. So it's like, imagine if no one ever paid attention to what's inside of a car. They never opened up the hood. And then I would come along and tell you, hey, there's a little gremlin inside of the car, and when you push the gas pedal, it annoys the gremlin because the gas pedal goes into his back, and he starts roaring like, and he starts moving, he starts running faster. And the harder you press, the more pain or the more agitated he's going to get, and the faster he's going to push your car. If you have never looked inside of your car's engine, maybe you think, okay, this sounds logical or reasonable. Sure, maybe this is the way it is. You'll believe me, okay? You'll take this on faith. But what does belief do for you? It does nothing, okay? It's like I used to believe in the tooth fairy, or I used to believe in Santa Claus, but those were just beliefs. If I actually experientially saw Santa Claus, truly, the actual real Santa Claus, him flying in the sky, I'd be like, wow, I know Santa Claus is real. But beforehand, I only believed. So similarly, you believe all these things. You believe in a God or this or that, or there's a soul, or all sorts of heaven and hell. It's beliefs. There's no inner experience. Luckily, fortunately for you, there are methods for you to gain inner experience, for you to see the reality clearly within yourself. How? Why? Through meditation, okay? I'll teach you how. This is how you do it. First and foremost, you have to have a strong moral foundation, morality, okay? And there's no one that explains morality better than the Buddha himself. He says that morality is broken down into 5 parts. Do not kill living beings, do not steal anything from others, do not lie to anyone for any sake, do not misuse your sexual energy, and do not intoxicate your mind. Keep your mind sober. These 5 things are perfect. Nothing can be added and nothing can be taken away. It's an airtight formula. It's a formula. It's a perfect formula. You apply this in your life, you will become meditative naturally. Your heart and mind will be very easy to live with. And generally, everything in your life is going to get better. Guaranteed for sure. This is a fact. Okay? So follow these 5 moral precepts. It'll be very, very good for you. It'll be very, very useful. How else do you experience the internal nature within yourself? Well, after you have strong morality. If you don't have strong morality, your mind is going to be agitated, and it won't allow you to progress to the next part, which is what? It's meditation. Okay? There are many types of meditations. In total, there are something like 112 meditations. Total. Or 112 methods for realizing the truth, gaining wisdom. So the Buddha only taught maybe 2 or 3 out of these 112 techniques to attain your final liberation. If you don't have strong morality, you're going to be agitated within your own mind. You won't be able to progress deeper and deeper into your own mind and to see reality for what it is. But if you have perfect morality, then your next step can progress forward, and you can start to investigate, what is this body? What is this mind? How is this consciousness formed? How is this matter come to be? Why is my thoughts this way? Or why is pain arising? Or why is pleasure arising? Or why is unhappiness arising? Why is there suffering at all in this casing? The reality will become very clear to you once you start to investigate. It's like a person that goes to the hospital and has a terminal disease. He asks the doctor, hey buddy, what's wrong with me? The doctor isn't going to say, he's going to read some sacred book and text and say, oh, I believe you have this and that, and go do some prayers. No, he would lose his practice. What does he do? He runs some tests. First, he has a very strong foundation of his schooling and his education, which is essentially morality. You need that. Otherwise, you can't progress forward. Then he goes and starts to investigate. Okay, let's see, what's the reality inside of you? Let's run some x-rays. Let's do some CAT scans. Let me do some tests in your body. Does this hurt? Does that hurt? Tell me some things about you. Okay, this is what you eat. This is what you have done today. So he gathers all sorts of intelligence. Then, if he still can't figure it out, if it's some serious major problems, he's going to start to open your body up, literally. Okay, that's called surgery. And then he'll start to see the reality for what it is. Okay, this is happening because of this. You'll be able to see it clearly within your own body. Similarly, you can do the same thing, but with your mind's eye. You can perceive the nature of your entire body. You can see everything that's wrong with you, everything that's right with you. You can literally see everything that there is to know about this creation. Then once you start looking, once you have perfect morality, and you start to meditate, which means to start to investigate the reality within, you start to gaining wisdom. What does it mean? You start to inquiring, this is how it is. This is the reality of my nature. This is how reality is formed. This is how things are in nature. The more wisdom you gain, in essence, the Buddha said that there's 3 types of wisdom. Wisdom into the nature of impermanence, wisdom into the nature of suffering and its cause and its cessation and the path leading to its cessation, and wisdom as it relates to nothingness, emptiness, or no soul, no self, no ego, or in essence to the parts or components that make up your body and mind. This is how you cultivate wisdom. When you start to investigate the reality, you start to perceive this is how it is, you start to become wiser. Now, coming back to the title of this video, what is the nature of the soul? The reality is very clear when you start to investigate this within your own self, within your own inner nature, that the body is made up, or the body and mind is made up of component parts, just like I said earlier. It's a bunch of components, just like a wristwatch is made out of different components, maybe has like 15, 20, 35 parts, and at each separate part you can take it apart, and each part you can say this is the essence of the watch, or this is the essence of the watch. It doesn't work like that. It's a combination of many different factors that once clubbed together, it formulates a watch that's working and tells you the time. Similarly with his being, similarly with his body. This body and mind is made up of different components. In total, the Buddha said that there are 5 components, which are, namely, the body, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. Okay? The body, I'm going to get into all these 5 in just a few moments. So coming back to this, how is my train of thought here, is that there's no essence here. There's no ego entity. There's no permanent self or soul. It's a bunch of component parts that have gathered together. And these component parts are making you who you are. And these component parts, as they are clumped together, they give you the gross experience that this is an I, this is a me, this is a permanent little thing, and this is something to be protected and cherished and go forward in the world, which is not the case. Okay, you're not there. Yes, of course, the body needs to be cherished, of course, no doubt about that. But there is no, getting back to my point, is that there is no ego essence. There is no soul per se. There is no permanent thing that goes to heaven once you die or goes to hell once you die and lasts in eternity. Nothing lasts in eternity. Even the universe is not going to be eternal. There's no mental state that is eternal. Not even the most refined, subtlest aspects of reality, which are pure energy itself, is eternal. It is not eternal. It will pass away at some point in the future. So the Buddha explained that yes, there is rebirth. Yes, there are different states of existence after this birth is over. You can be born in the animal realm, like we see in the planet Earth. There is an animal world. We're living alongside it. There's a human world. There is a ghost world also. It is also in this human plane, but it's much more refined. You need to tune your skill to be able to perceive that. There is a hell realm also. There is higher states of consciousness or higher realms of existence, such as angels and gods and various other very high beings, which if you pass away having done good actions in this life, meaning you've refined your mind, you've made your mind very clean and pure, after this body breaks apart, you will inevitably enter that state. If you haven't totally understood the truth of reality, you will go to a very favorable destination, and you will spend almost an eternity there. Virtually, it's an eternity. Why do I say virtually it's an eternity? Well, if something lasts a couple of 100 million years, or a billion years, for example, in the grand scheme of the universe, it's essentially eternal as it relates to this human self. But still, it's not permanent. So after a billion years or so, that fuel, that positive fuel, will get burnt up. It'll be eaten by you in that positive state, and then you will fall back down into the lowest states of existence. Why? Because that's just how it is. There's much more negative fuel here than positive fuel. You have to work towards gaining positivity. It doesn't really, you don't have to really do anything to become, to fall into darkness. Yeah, I'm gonna take a little break and drink some water. Let me see the camera. If it's still recording, great. So coming back to this teaching, this is the Buddha's original teaching. He said that the body and mind are made up of 5 components here. There's only 5 things. Like I said, there's the body, there's feelings, there's perception, there's mental formations, and there's consciousness. These 5 aggregates are what makes up this body and mind. If you take these 5 things apart and you lay them on a table, you can't say this is me or this is mine or this is I. No. Once the body breaks apart, these 5 things declump, and your stream of consciousness, your stream of mind, of course, will inevitably go forward, but it's still not you. Just like a sliver of a river, as it's rapidly moving down the stream, you can't say, oh, this is the essence of the river. No, it doesn't. It's not the case. So every molecule of the water is constantly changing. It's a flowing. Every moment it's different. It's not the same even for a second. So the 5 aggregates are body, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Body, we all understand what that is. It's the food that we've gathered. This body is essentially food, or all of the 5 elements that you've consumed. Most grossly, fundamentally, you are consuming the earth element and water element. That's the most dominant thing here. Then air, you're breathing in air. Fire, to some extent, you're eating warm food, or you're keeping yourself warm. And sunlight, it makes you warm. And space is everywhere, so it's constantly inside of you, pervading in you. This is what the body is. It's a food body. It's made up of the food that you've eaten. Next is feelings. Well, someone touches you, someone touches your body, it'll create a sensation, or it'll create a feeling inside of you. Ah, this is nice. Oh, this is not nice. Those are feelings, okay? There's feelings inside of this casing. There's perception. Well, perception is what you perceive makes your mind happen. So perception is like the mouth of the mind. If your mouth is wide open, your perception is able to intake a lot of things. Your mind is going to have a lot of substance to be fueled on. If your perception is totally closed, well, that's what we call a closed-minded person that doesn't experience reality truthfully for what it is. Then there's mental formations. This is the most important one. Mental formations are thoughts. It's a mental formation. It's a thing that produces thoughts. So it's all the thought factory in this. And then there's consciousness. The Buddha said that there's, in essence, 6 consciousnesses. There are 6 consciousnesses. I've seen this for myself. There's a mind consciousness. There's a body consciousness. There's an eye consciousness, an ear consciousness, a nose consciousness, and a tongue consciousness. These 6 consciousnesses all have their own respective organs, and these organs, when contact is made, creates the experience or creates the consciousness. So if your nose were to get destroyed, you wouldn't sense anything because the doorway or the organ that is connected to the nose consciousness is destroyed, so contact can't happen with the external objects, so the consciousness can't create an experience. It's done. Similarly, the most elusive one is the mind consciousness. You think that the mind objects are you. When I say mind objects, I mean thoughts and emotions. I'm sorry. Your thoughts and images that happen in your own mind. They are not you. And if the physical objects would be stopped, your mind would naturally subside, and the consciousness as it relates to your mind would cease to experience. So there are 6 consciousnesses. Now I've clearly seen this when I was in New Hampshire in the United States, in a United States Buddhist forest hermitage or monastery. And I had a deep perception into this, that I saw that there are these 6 consciousnesses, and they all have their objects, meaning the visible objects come in contact with the eye, and it creates the experience of seeing. There is no I in this. There is just an experience. An experience is impermanent. It is transient. It is constantly changing and moving. So it can't be said, oh, this is me or this is I. So in these I have a little bouquet, a little souvenir. The tree just shed this, okay? It's my little staff, or my little king's stick, okay? So there are these 6 consciousnesses, as well as there are these 5 aggregates. And after I saw this, there's the 6 consciousnesses, I later saw that this body is made up of 5 aggregates. I saw this distinctly in other people. And when people are saying, oh, this is me, or this is I, or I'm going to get lunch, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, I was almost laughing at them. Because it's like if you were to program a robot, and you were to give the robot some sense of, oh, this is me, this is I have an ego, I have this. But you've made this robot, you know all the components that go into this robot, you've designed the code, the software for this robot's mind or language to work, and it's just your own creation. You would just laugh like, oh my god, I know everything that there is to know about this robot. It can't have an ego, it can't have a permanent self or self. It's just a machine that's running its program. Similarly with the human body and mind, it's all of your past experiences clumped together, and this is who you are. You've made up of your past, essentially, basically. And outside of these 5 aggregates, there is no more. There is nothing else.